everybody, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you mobile home prepping. Everything in my life revolves around two things: mobile home and prepping, and putting the two together. Prepping in a mobile home is one of the cheapest and most frugal ways that you can prep, because living in a mobile home, which I've done many videos on, I teach with you in almost every video mobile home life, mobile home, and how you can prep in a mobile home, and you can do it very frugal. In my channel, I talk about living outside the box, and that means finding new ways to do traditional things. And prepping is very expensive, but I share with you about using the food pantry to do some prepping and how you can do that, and how you can do that the right way. I've shared with you how you can find free food in your community. I shared with you all of these things, and that is to prepare you for what may lie ahead. Mobile home prepping, my friends, that is the key for me. And that's because living in a mobile home, you have very low cost. You don't have the high expense of taxes like you do in a regular home. A mobile home is relatively still a lot cheaper than buying a home. Homesteading on a mobile home is the cheapest way to homestead, because it's the cheapest thing that you can do, because buying a property is so expensive. I'm in one of my pantries again because I'm working in here today, and I'm going to show you some things that are living outside the box. And I want to show you how you can prep with everyday items, but you can help them last longer. Prepping doesn't necessarily mean for the end times, or prepping for bad things that are happening. Prepping can be about making your food last longer. Prepping can be if you lost an income or lost a job. All right, so at the food truck, I got all of these little potatoes for free. Now, if they're kept in a container like this, they won't last very long because they're in plastic, and plastic holds moisture. So if you get a sale of potatoes like this and you want to learn how to prep, and you can prep them for a long time. In fact, I prepped potatoes like this for over 3 months. All you have to do is take them out of the plastic, and now you have to put them in something different. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put them in a basket. So behind me is a basket. We're going to put them in there, and then we're going to put a cover on top. The cover is going to do two things. Potatoes cannot be in the sunlight or they'll turn green, and you do not want to eat a green potato. These potatoes were also given to me by the food truck, but I can go ahead and I can peel them. You don't want to ever eat green potatoes. So if the peeling is green, you don't want to eat that. But they were in the light. So what I have to do is I have to prepare them. I have to prep them for long term. And that means you have to put them in the dark. We're going to go ahead and put these in the basket, and then we're going to put a cover on top. The cover is to make things dark, and the basket is to give ventilation. You need to have ventilation in your root crops. Like this, a container like this would not do very good for very long because of the moisture that it would hold. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to open all of these and put them up here in this basket along with some of my other potatoes that I have. And that is just one example of preparing and prepping. All right, let's get that done. We see a few of these potatoes that are sprouting. We're going to go ahead, take them out, and we're going to replant these. These sprouting potatoes will be perfect to plant. So I'm going to go ahead and go through all of these, the ones that have the sprouts on them, and these are going to be for replanting. We're going to go and work on that. Now I want to remind you, those potatoes were stored for over 4 months. So that some of them were starting to sprout. We're going to use them to plant. But now we have these potatoes that aren't sprouting, and we're going to use them and put them in this basket right here. Now we have a cloth down on the bottom, and that is to absorb if there would be any moisture. Now we're going to do the same thing with our sweet potatoes. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put something underneath. And I got a bag of sweet potatoes, and we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. I did a product review, and I love this little basket. It comes with 2 of them. But putting the cloth on the bottom is going to keep your sweet potatoes, if they would happen to sweat, it's going to keep your sweet potatoes from getting really wet. All right, now we're going to talk about some dented cans. You've seen me do many videos on using dented cans. Well, let me tell you what, I got a paper that talks about dented cans that comes from the government. I'm going to show you this paper because it was handed to me by the food truck people. And I want to share it with all of you because it was information that I didn't know. But I have a box here of tin cans. Now, these are slightly dented. They are not dented too badly, and they are still sealed. And we are going to discuss these dented cans. Because I'm partly in charge of the food truck, I was given this slip of how much food we donated this month. And I am very happy to say that we donated 13,865 pounds of food. Let me say that again. 13,865 pounds of food. Here's the invoice. But what they had in the back, right here, was talking about dented cans and talking about expiration dates. So, USDA facts about product dating. And it goes on and on and on and on about the different product dating and how you don't throw something out just because it's outdated. And it also is talking about dents in cans. So, now this can wasn't even hardly dented. Dented cans like this are fine. Dented cans like this are fine. Dented cans like this are fine. Dented cans like that are fine. If you have a slight dent like this, that is fine, as long as it's sealed on the top and on the bottom. When you have an issue is when your can is dented to the point where it's smashed on both sides so much that the top of it pops. Now, let me explain something to you. I don't recommend you use dented cans for things like meat and stuff like that. When I am working with dented cans and recanning it, I'm usually working with water bath items. There, you don't have much of a risk of botulism because it is high acid items. When it comes to low acid items, like cream soups, I do not recan that, but I am very careful. A little dent on the side is not going to damage it as long as it's not popped from the top and the bottom. Now, this is how I do things. Try to read the USDA recommendations because they talk a lot about it and about how you can work on your knowledge of expiration and your knowledge on dented cans and things like that. This is not just the USDA, okay? This also is the facts on the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. It also is the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, the Institute FMI of Food Nutritional Marketing, the GMA, okay? So all of these are talking about this, all of these. The GMA is the world's largest association for food, beverage, and consumer products. According to the USDA and the PDA, any grocery store may legally sell items past their freshness date. If it is out of the date, we'll look to see if it's spoiled. But just because it's out of the date, we can't make them pull it off the shelf. Product dating is the most widely used means for consumers to determine when the produce of the food of the product is at its best quality. Dates stamped on the packages can also help the store determine how long to display the product. But according to the United States Department of Agriculture, these dates are not safety dates. Instead, they should be seen as more good faith promise of freshness. In other words, just because the date is outdated does not necessarily mean that it needs to be thrown away. There's also many guidelines on the dents and dented cans, and those are things that you can look under the USDA and you can find the facts for your state or for the United States. I just thought this was fascinating that they sent this with us because they are the ones that are giving us the dented cans. Now, of course, we do have to go through all the cans, and before we hand them out to the people, we check all the cans to make sure that they are sealed and in good shape. But having a dent on the side and not on the seams is really, you do not need to throw it away. If you do, all of the common sense approach to food. So you want to open it up. If it's not siphoning out of the jar and it smells good and it's sealed on both sides, you're safe to say your food is probably safe. But this is something that you can learn to prepare, because when we get into a time in our lives where things may be really bad, we may not have a say on having perfect food. And we may have to equip ourselves with the knowledge to know how to use food that we would have maybe a couple years ago not even thought of using. But we need to be safe, but we need to be smart. We need to have common sense. Common sense these days is not really found too much. Common sense tells you that if a can is sealed and it has just a tiny little dent in it, it's still good to eat. Cans can also last you 2 to 3 years past their expiration date if those cans are kept in a cool, dark environment. All right, now I gotta go put all these cans away. As I was putting my cans away, I spotted this one. Now, I had to take a pause and think about this one because it was sealed on both ends, but the dent was up at the seal. Okay, so I'm just going to show you. I'm not using this one simply because the dent is up here. Okay, this is where the seal is, and it's pretty close to the seal. Now, a lot of people would probably still use this, but I won't. Now, here's the difference. Let me show you. Okay, so here's the difference. This dent is in the middle of the can, okay? It's not at the top, it's not at the bottom, it's in the middle of the can. This dent is up at the lid. You see where the lid is here? And this could have damaged the seal. That's the difference between having cans that are dented just a little bit on the side and having cans that are dented. Now, why do we get all these cans? Because the grocery stores, instead of throwing them out, they put them on a skid, and then this outlet, this food outlet place, picks it up, and then they give it to all of us. So this here is the difference between this not probably being good and this one being all right. And you don't want to give it to your animals because you don't want to make your animals sick if you're afraid that it might make you sick. So I'll just go ahead and throw that away. Now I am left with a hodgepodge of things that I'm going to show you how you can have them in long-term storage. All right, so now what we got is this. We got a whole bunch of these little cake mixes. These are what you call in Mylar bags. Now, it doesn't look like your typical Mylar bag, but it's in a foil pack. This will last you at least 2 years past expiration date. So these are fine to use. And then we got this. These are the icing to go with those. They're fine because they are, once again, in vacuum sealed Mylar bags. Mylar type bags. They're not exactly Mylar bags, but they're fine. They're in a foil pack. Now we got this. This is what it looks like to be brownie mix. And now we have all of this. So these are in foil bags, again, so they're fine to package that way. They will last you a long time. But now we have all of this. This is taco seasoning, which I'm going to go ahead and put in a glass jar. This here is in another foil pack. This is enchilada sauce, but that is foil. It's a kind of foil. On the inside, that's okay to have that like that. But these we don't want to keep long term in the plastic. So I'm going to go open these all up, and I'm going to put these in a bag. I'm going to put these all in a glass jar, or better yet, we will put them in a Mylar bag. So let's go ahead and put these in a Mylar bag, because you don't want to keep them in this plastic. You want to have an extra coating of protection to make them last longer. Right, so now they are vacuum sealed. And we're going to give it another double layer of protection. Just like that. And make sure we label them. You can also go ahead and date it. It's always nice to know the dates of things. So I am going to go and date them. They do not expire till 2023, but I'm going to date it 2022 because that's when I am putting them in here. Hi everybody, it's Homestead Tessie, and I'm coming to you with another product review, and that is this little shelf. Now you can use this for just about anything, but I'm going to use it for my food storage. The shelves fit on a tray like this. It's on a track, so you can pull them in and pull them out. It is 2 bins that you put on the shelf, and they're really nicely made. They are made of metal, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to store my root crops in here. I'm going to store my garlic and my onions. So let me put them in and show you. Now this can be used for an office, you can use it for papers, you can use it for just about anything. You can also adjust it how you put it together, so if you want the drawers to be closer or if you want them to be further apart.